Hey everyone! So in today's video, I'm going to be continuing my spring to summer garden transition. So there's not a ton of plants here, mostly because I don't have a ton of space left, but I did want to pick up some of my favorite flowers just to kind of fill in any empty parts in the garden, and then also get some plants for potentially decorating my flower cart. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to completely decorate it in a separate video because I still have a few different things I need to pick up, but I'll kind of show you at least what I'm thinking about including over there. So let me first show you what I picked up, and then I will show you where I'm going to plant them in the garden. So first, I got two more varieties of Supertunias. They probably look a bit similar, but I will show you them up close. But I already have 4 Supertunia Vista bubblegums in my center raised bed, which I've grown. Well, I had them in the exact same spot last year. I think I've had them in the garden really every year that I've gardened. And I've grown other petunias. So I've grown, wave petunias. I had some last year that weren't wave, but weren't Supertunias. I can't remember whether it's a different brand or variety, what the name was. But I've come to find that I really just love Supertunias much more than any other type of petunia. And because they love to get attacked by budworms, if I'm going to have something in my garden that I'm going to have to battle against the pests, I want it to be something that I really love. So that's why I got 2 more. I got 2 more of each of these varieties of Supertunia. So this one right here is Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, and I actually think I might have grown this before. I can't exactly remember, but this is going to go in the back raised bed with the straw flowers just on the corner. I actually did have Supertunias there last year, but then I planted a melon plant in the raised bed, and that gobbled up all the Supertunias. So these are very vibrant, solid purple. This variety is the Supertunia Picasso in purple, and you can see there that they're pretty much the same, like vibrant purple, but they have green on the tips of the flowers. And these, I think I'm going to pot up in terracotta pots and then put them into the flower cart somehow. I don't exactly know how yet. I actually have a planting tool, I guess that's what you would call it, but it is a tool that you can kind of stick under balconies. They're called plant traps, so that you can put a pot on the outside. So I'm going to try to figure that out, but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Let me get back to what I am planting today. So we have the 2 Supertunias. Then for the pots that I have out right in front of my raised bed, so where you can look out into the garden from inside, I pulled out the tulips and pansies that were in there. So they're empty right now. So I'm going to fill them with 2 of these. Now these are called Dolce Spearmint heucheras, and they are sunshade, and that's actually good for the part of my deck I'm putting them in, because even though the deck gets a lot of sun and it's very hot, because of the positioning of these pots, as the sun kind of travels this way, they get hit with a bit of morning sun, but then they're blocked by the raised bed in the afternoon. So part shade plants have worked really well there. Now I love these. One, I like the salmony pink color of the flowers. I've ended up with a lot of like pink, orangey, and peach flowers, not on purpose. That's just kind of what I've liked at the stores and grabbed, so that's what the garden's going to be this year. But I also like the color of the leaves. They're kind of like a silvery green, and I think that'll look really nice in the gray pots, and just a nice contrast overall. Now, the last plant, which I have 2 of, but only 1 fit on the table, is a fern. So I got 2 ferns. I've never grown ferns before, but I've always really liked the look of them, especially hanging like from a covered porch on fronts of houses, which we don't have, but I thought these would look really nice originally hanging from the flower cart, but I think they might be a bit too large. And you know what, maybe I'll start there. I'll kind of show you what I'm thinking with the flower cart, show you why I think it's not going to work, and then I'll take you around, and then we'll get the rest of these planted. Also, I have 2 plants that might be dead, so I'm hoping I can show you those, talk a little bit about what happened, and somebody who knows or has experienced this before can let me know if they are dead and I should go ahead and pull them, or if I should keep them around a little longer and see if they bounce back. So I'll show you that kind of at the end of the video. But let's go ahead and I will show you where I'm going to put these flowers. So first, I just hung the ferns where I had originally thought in my head they would go, but that just looks too big and bulky for the size of the flower cart. At least that's what I think. So one, I think they just hang down too far. If they were maybe up higher, it would look a little bit better, but also just the size of them I don't think really balances out with the flower cart. So I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do with those, but like I said, I will do that in a separate video. But also I want to be able to obviously utilize the cart storing watering cans and pots, and I think this will just make it, I mean, it's not terrible, but just a little bit more difficult to kind of get in and out there. So I'll probably still put them around this cart somewhere. I'm just not sure where that's going to be yet. And then these, like I mentioned, I want to grow in here as well. So what I think I'm going to do is today at least pot those two Supertunias up, each in their own individual pot. They'll look a little bit small at first, but they will very, very quickly grow to probably completely cover the pots. So we'll do that today, but then I'll completely kind of style up everything. Some of the things I want to get is I want to get some plants that again are part shade that I can put in here, and then maybe kind of put this as like a centerpiece either there or in the bottom. At least that's part of my idea. And then I'd like something that can climb up the back over here, some sort of vining plant. I did move out the Morning Glory, which I originally intended to grow inside, but once the weather got nice enough, I just wanted to move it out here. So right now it's next to the flower cart with the hopes that it'll start trailing up on this side soon. This is where I plan to put the heucheras, and I'm not sure if I mentioned, but the heucheras are actually perennial, so they will come back next year. I also have perennial delphiniums in these two pots on the end, and those I just overwintered out here and they came back. This is their second year. So I'm not sure if I'll keep these in the pots over winter and then have them come back next year, hopefully, or if I will move them down somewhere in the parkway. Because as much as I like having perennials that come back, I don't have to worry about it. I feel like because these pots are up in the front of the garden, they're a bit more decorative. I find that I'm very impatient waiting for the actual perennials to come in. So we'll see if I decide to do annuals in here next year or keep the perennials, but I will let you know what I figure out in the fall. The Supertunia Jazzberry I'm going to do in either corner of this raised bed. I mentioned I did this last year, but since I'm not putting a melon plant in here, hopefully they won't get swallowed up. But I really like just bundles of colorful flowers kind of trailing down the side of those raised beds. This raised bed, because I just recently put more compost in it, I'm just going to dig a hole, add some biotone, and plant those. And then the pots up front, I am going to add compost and biotone because I don't know how old the soil is in there. So like I said, this soil was used for whatever was grown in here last year that I can't remember. And then I don't think I completely emptied it out before I put the tulips in there this spring. So it's definitely had a few different plants in it. But what I'm going to do, well, first I'm going to push the soil aside where the hole is going to be, and then throw in just a few handfuls of compost into that. Mix that around, put in the biotone, and then plant the heuchera. The heucheras are now planted and watered in, and I think I'm really going to love them here. I also remembered to put the tag in here so that I can remember what variety it is, so I am very proud of myself for that. But now I think I'll tackle those Supertunias next. Jazzberry Supertunias are in place. Now I'm going to go plant up the last two Supertunias. Like I said, the Picasso in purple, I'm just going to put one in each of these terracotta pots, and then at some point use them on my flower cart. These Supertunias are now potted up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them in this spot because I think this is around where I would use them on the flower cart, and I'm going to see if they get enough sun to be happy over here. So the sun comes from that way, so we're pretty much, I feel like, getting sun maybe from about 1 p.m. on until the trees behind me block it. So I'm hoping that's enough to keep these happy because I would really like them over here on the flower cart, but we will see. Now let me go show you the two plants I unfortunately think might be either dead or in the process of dying. Let's start with the one that hurts me the most, and that is this rose tree. So I got this last fall. It was on sale at one of the local garden centers, so I picked it up. It overwintered out here, and then it did bud up. You can see some of the buds there. In early spring, this stem turned green. There was a stem over here that is no longer there, but now even, let me get closer, even this green stem doesn't look particularly healthy anymore. It kind of looks wrinkly, and if I touch it, the outside is soft, which none of those things seem like good signs for a plant. Now, I asked around and looked online, and it said to just basically kind of slice into the bark and see where there's green and cut back to there. There was no green left over here at all. You can see there it's all brown. There's some green left here, so I've left it for now, but I think I'm going to pull the whole thing. A few reasons. One, I think it's going to be completely dead. I don't think anything's going to flush back with growth. But two, if I had a bunch of roses, I would maybe leave this for a bit longer, because I'd be fine having one that doesn't look great, see how it does. But this is the only rose in my garden. It's in a pretty prominent place, and I'd rather have something here that is actually growing. So unfortunately, I think I'm gonna pull this unless anyone out there recommends not doing that. Now let me show you the other plant, which I'm still sad about, but not quite as sad. And that is my grape plant, which I just recently potted up, but it's basically done almost the same thing as my rose, but it doesn't look quite as bad. So it budded up in early spring, and then again we had just a longer, colder, wetter spring, so it could have gotten damaged. Maybe it was waking up, and then because it got cold for too long of a period, it just did not continue budding. The difference with this one though is that I was able to find green on each stem, so there wasn't one whole stem that was dead, but I was able to scratch, so I just basically cut back to where there was green. And I'm gonna wait and see if anything happens with this one. I think I'm gonna give this one a little bit longer than I'm giving my rose tree to see if it flushes back, maybe by early June. Again, unless anyone out there with experience can tell me that no, this is very, very long gone. I did also scratch kind of down further here, and there is green like near the base. So I think there's a bit more life in this one. But if this doesn't make it, I think I'm gonna replace this one with just some extra zinnias that I have. I think I'll probably replace the rose. I like the idea of the tree over there, so whether it's a rose tree or some other sort of small but tall plant, I will put it there as well. So that's going to be everything for today. It feels nice to have, I feel like almost every plant that I'm going to have for the most of the summer. I mean, I'm still going to buy more plants, but I'd say I'm like 90% there with the plants that I need in the garden. So unfortunately I will have to replace those two probably, but again, let me know down below if you have any experience with issues like this happening. But then there really isn't much more space that I need to fill. So like I said, I'm going to decorate this cart a little bit later because I want to get a couple more plants for that. I need to set up my drip system so that things are actually getting watered. So that's probably one of the next things I'm going to do. And then we just wait for everything to grow. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.